listeners, welcome to the MedReach Podcast by MedReach Knowledge-sharing Forum, top-notch talk with healthcare experts. I'm your host Roshna. Let me give you a quick insight about what is MedReach Knowledge-sharing Forum. We are the only forum to focus on healthcare management knowledge sharing. Our forum helps you to connect with healthcare industry experts. MedReach Knowledge-sharing Forum is the right place to share best practices, interesting queries and articles respect to the healthcare field. To share and seek in all the fields of healthcare industry, join with us today. Visit knowledge.medreach.in. This episode to join with us today we have Mr.Sivalingam, Quality Engineer, Senior Business Analyst and a Product Owner at Attune Technologies Private Limited. Welcome to the MedReach Podcast, Mr. Sivalingam.
Hi. So thanks for giving the opportunity to brief report of myself and to talk about the lab information management system. So myself, Sivalingam, I'm just playing a role of a senior business analyst, come a product owner. So in an organization called Attune Technologies Private Limited. Okay, so now as a senior business analyst, I have to play multiple roles as customer management, as well as I'm leading the product of lab information management. So I've been into this healthcare industry almost 8 years. Okay, and if you see, like, this is my first company. I started my career as a quality engineer. So when I am as a quality engineer, I learned the product. So how the product it will be. So after 3-4 years, I switched my career to the implementation from a quality engineer. So when I doing this, I learned what is the customer expectation when they are buying the product. So when quality engineer, I learned the product, how the product works. When it goes to the implementation, I learned how does the customer expecting in this product. So with this two experience, I learned what is product, what are the customer expectation in the product. Then when I moved to the product management team, so what all the changes need to be done in the product. So that is how I learned myself and improved my career knowledges. So that helped me to now become a product owner to the product of a lab information management system.
The quality manager to the product implementation team. Good change. And
so
nice
quality engineer, implementation, then now it's become a business analyst, come a product owner.
Very nice. So as we heard about yourself, people know that LIMS is like a lab information management software and it helps to do that. Apart from that, like, what are the gist of modules are there in LIMS? Could you share with us?
Yeah, see, like, typically people will see only lab is like only to do only with the patient samples. But if you see in the market, lab is not only to do the human testing. So it is in various cases, like, for example, if we can take the lab industries which running for a food industries also do the food quality testing. Similar, we have agricultures and biotech. So we have a multiple sections in the lab industries. One is frequently says food, and another is the agriculture, that is called cannabis testings. So these are all the few other areas which the labs will covers.
Okay, fine. That's really nice. That food industry and biotech and agriculture, apart from the human testing laboratories.
Yes.
So yeah.
So now the market is morely concentrating on the cannabis industry. That is if you see the market research, like it's saying like around 60 to 70% of market share in the global, it's covered by North America. So now they are moving into the Canadian lab industries. So that is in agricultures.
I think it's really most important at this time because agriculture is being really, getting down by day. It's a good initiative and nice to hear that. Okay. Like nowadays, software moved from offline to online module. Like, how you see this?
Okay, so if you see, like, almost 10 years back, so most of the lab information systems, so which is get placed in an offline mode. So the reason of why the peoples on that point of time they used to go with this approach, because the main reason is data security, because it's dealing with the patient's results. And And but now the industry, the reason of why they are moving into this online model, like for example, the typical examples we can say, the telepathologist. So like for example, in radiology, if any doctors need to get a second opinion, so they can easily send the reports to the senior doctors or the other referral physicians. They can easily send the report as a link and get the reference and get the guidance to get a second opinion. So whether what we can able to diagnose to these patients. That is the one advantage of moving from offline to online. And another example we come across is like, so now for primary workers, the villages having the hospitals, right? So when the patient is admitted in hospitals, so by any cases, the patient is moving to the primary health centers in the cities. So if we go with the offline model of system in the labs or hospitals, the patient information will not come into the primary health centers. But when it goes for an online system, so the same data will comes reflect in the primary health center also. So you can easily diagnose instead of going through the process again.
So you mean to say that there is a lot of coordination and really effective
Yes.
things by moving into the offline?
Yes. Yeah.
Even though it
So like,
has its own drawbacks, right? Having cyber security
yeah,
problems.
so in the ancient periods, the people go with offline models majorly for the reason of safeguarding the patient's records, because we can't able to, like for example, if the patient is having any sensitive results, it should not be released, it should not be easily taken from the system. So that is the reason most of the peoples in ancient periods go with the offline model. So the results will not be released unless until the admin whosoever have authority to release. But when it goes for an online model, there are some challenges, but we have to now, how we are addressing over here is like, we all the patient records we are saving in the system, we are doing encryption. Even when they hack the system, it will not easily to get the informations. So the advantages of having the online modules, we can able to get a easily reference or like a guidance from the superiors. So one example is the telepathology, and another is multi-center data management. So the patient's record. So like for example, now if we can able to see multi-chain hospitals are coming up, multi-chain laboratories are coming up. So the same patient records, we don't want to do a multiple works. So the patient data will be maintained in a separate, the common entity. So the data, everything can be reflected across the system.
So that's actually a real advantage for the patients to get a quick thing
Yes.
and without the loss of things. Yeah.
Yes.
So can you share with us India versus outside market potentials for LIMS?
Okay. And what is the major difference so far we have seen and come across is like, the processes remains going to same. See, if you see the lab process, majorly is categorized into pre-analytical, analytical, and post-analytical. So it is a common segregations of the entire lab industries, not only the limbs, the diagnostics, even the food industries, petrol, oil, arms industries, and agriculture. So this is the standard segregations. But what majorly we find out the difference is like the process of insurance as well as the technologies they have used. So this is the major difference. So far we have come across, and we have done the research, and this is the study report we have given to the team also. Like for example, if you see a typical example, Dubai have a different set of insurance policies. They have the Emirates cards. Each test they have the consultations, prices differs. Similar, US have a different set of insurance policies. So major differences, strategy they use is the insurance and the testing methodologies. So this is the major difference we follows. And apart from this, what we seen is like, in India, mostly we covers very few industries, as we mentioned earlier. Mostly we are into the diagnostics industries as well as the food and beverage. So other industries we may not cover yet, but we have very few competitors in the system.
Okay, but do you think there is a drawback because of that? India lacks that insurance kind of methodologies and all those things. Do you think we
It is
lack
not.
that?
I don't think so. It's a lack, but we don't have a proper channel of insurancing in India so far. See, like the reason is, if you see abroad, like a kind of a US, Singapore, and I think the insurance is must. But if you take Indian market, so out of 100%, maybe 50 to 60% people will have the insurance. So that is the reason we can't able to implement the insurance workflows in India.
Okay. So, yeah, moving to the next question.
Mhm.
What is the most recent update made in LIMS?
See, now if you see like lab industries is most the new technologies which they are adapting, so we can able to easily interact with all the systems. And few things technology which is helps to adapt the thing is like without a keyboards the doctors can able to enter the notes. Like for example, if you see the industries, so how many doctors are using the keyboards to capture the patient medical records, because it is not a easy work to doctors or technicians to capture the details into the opening the system and capture the info. Without a keyboard, how easily we can able to capture the details into the system. Like that one example we can say EMR. So when the doctors sits in front of the patient sits in front of the doctors, so the doctor will ask you details. So when the doctor's diagnosing the patient, he can't able to open the laptop and capture the information. So now we are coming up with the features of uh, dictations comes the data will capture into the system. So when the doctor is asking the questions like what is your problem, what is the patient history, so when the patient and gives the details, so when the doctor dictating, so automatically the details will capture into the system.
Okay.
So he will concentrate only on the patients. So what are the information we can able to get, right? So in that time, I can able to ask the doctor to open the laptop and capture the information into it. So that is the one part.
And it will, yeah, transcript it.
And
Like,
another is like the reports. So when the report we are giving to the patients, so if you see the typical reports will have only the test name and the result. But now what we are doing, so we are giving a report in a descriptive format with the results of currently the current the diabetic results may falls in an average, but we are giving a prediction with your age category and the patient histories what we capture. See, you may get falls into diabetic in certain age. So if you doesn't want to get into this, you have to follow this kind of procedures. So we have enabled the artificial intelligence. So we have done the research. So with this, all the patient's record, with this, all the age categories. So majorly, we will get the patient age, gender, and patient histories. With this, we are calculating the risk assessment. So we are providing the result, and we are suggesting this. These are all the nutritions we have to take. If that takes, you will not fall into this diabetic in futures. So this report, if you see the ancient report, will have only the test and result, but now we are giving the result with the prediction as well as how to avoid it.
so this AI and offline to online thing and EMR, new come EMR, or these are the changes made in the
Yes,
recent updates made in the LIMS.
yes.
Okay,
So
that's
offline to
really
online, so that helps the lab to come up with a lot of changes and reducing the people's work. So like for example, auto registration. So the patient itself can able to walk in the registration. That helps to avoid a queue systems. And similar,
that's
without
right.
a keyboard, the doctor can able to capture the notes into the system and reports. So the quality reports. So that quality reports will give you the clear picture of. So even the layman can able to easily understand what exactly the patient is going to get.
So I think this is really a cool idea that doctor can capture the case or the history of the patients through the
Mhm.
laptop, where he can spend more time with interacting the patients,
Patient,
not spending
yes,
on taking a note.
yes.
So yeah, okay, that's really great. Okay, moving to the next question. What are
Hmm.
the quality indicators that measures the performance of LIMS?
Okay. So if you see the quality indicators of a lab system, so it has to helps the all the users, those who using the system. It starts from the registration itself. One example we can say that is test ordering is the initial steps we will do in the lab system. So that is test ordering means. So the quality indicators, like for example, if any female patient comes, so those female tests need to be get listed over here. Like for example, one example, typical example, pregnancy. So pregnancy test has to be done only for a female patient, right? So if any male patients get registered, the list of female related tests should not comes into the picture. So that is the one quality indicators. So because the researchers doesn't know what is that test, because they are data entry operators. So we have to restrict to the users. These are all the tests can be applicable only to the particular test. Similarly, when we move to the next step, that is a sample collection. That is the next process. Typically, the labs will do. Okay. So in that area, so we have to educate the phlebos. So like this patient has arrived at this test. Like for example, if you take an example of a patient has arrived at CBC, so that is more enough to take a 1 ml of blood from the patient. But when the patients order a CBC plus ESR, we have to collect 2.5 ml of blood from the patients. So these are all information we are giving to the phlebos. This patient has arrived at this test, so we have to collect extra samples. Similar, when we move to the next process of a lab technician to process, so we are validating whether the sample quantity is correct to process. So they have to validate the machine, because most of the lab tests will process in machines. So we are just making sure whether the machine is giving a quality results. So for that, we have the module of quality management system. Similarly, we have the inventories. So that when we are giving a reporting result to the patient, it has to be in a format of the cap, because we have a standard process of giving the report to the patients. So when the histopathology report, it has to be in a way of cap template. In India, we have the NABL aggregate. So those report has to be generated in the respective formats. And when it comes to the processing of a test, so each department have a different process flows. Biochemistry have a different process flow, how the samples need to get processed. Similar, if you see the special department, gynecology, cytology, biopsy, have a different process flow. So the system has to be in a way so it can able to adapt any process flow. It can be a detail or a normal process. And like for example, and another quality indicator is like the result correlation can be easily done. It can without any manual intervention. So that is the one example we can say. As we said earlier, if the patient has already gone through cytology, so if the doctor is coming for a biopsy, so the system has to give the indication to the doctor. The patient has already done a cytology, so we can able to get a reference of the cytology report also.
As we are discussing about the indicators, it should be smooth and it should meet the need of each department according to its requirement. And that's how it's being measured, the quality.
Yes.
Okay. And how the COVID affect LIMS market? Did it really affect it, and what was the case during the COVID?
Okay. See now, the COVID. So how we are addressing is like the COVID laboratory system is going to is playing a big role to finding the patient's result. So what is the patient positive and negative? So here, what typically we achieve in this COVID is like uh, uh, it provides a daily monitoring of the medical status of critically the patients and therapeutic drug monitoring to ensure that correct amount of medicines are provided and assist the patient to care team. So providing this best possible and outcome and treatment plans.
Okay. It was really helping the patients to monitor and making sure that the drug dosage is going on time.
Yes.
Moving on to the next question, what skill sets are required for healthcare product manager? From your 8 years of experience, just share us that how the good healthcare product manager needs the skill set.
So like as a product manager should have a set of responsibilities to thinking like he should be in he or she should be in a way of critical thinking, prioritizing which need to be taken first, and how the new product has to be evolved into the system. So as we see, the product owner has to be play a role of owning the product, right? So see, he should be have the capable of responsibility how the product need to be evolved. So he need to understand the business growth, market research, market study, and as a team workers, so he need to be in active listening. So he should be in well representation. So then only the product will get represented easily to the entire team to make the products will develop in a good pace. And so specifically in the healthcare industries, so he should be in a way of good relationship with the customer to understand the customer's need. Then only we can able to deliver a quality product to the customers. He should be in a addressing objections, problem sensitivities, qualities. These are the things where have collaborations, facilitate meeting leaderships, leading cross-functional teams, where he should be in a well communication have, and he should be a team worker. So attention to details, because when we are collecting the information of the customers, we should be in a very attention to understand what is the customer expecting in this particular features.
So definitely yes, and that's how make a good healthcare product manager to move forward and to meet their needs of
Yes.
the
Yeah.
environment and also the firm. Yeah. So as LIM is like evolving these days, and what will be the growth in next 5 to 10 years, like market, and what will be the demand for LIMs?
Okay, so now the healthcare industries currently they were doing only for this blood test. So now we are moving at the next level of genetic test. Because if you see in India, we may have a very few labs of doing this genetic kind of research and other tests. So now in India, the healthcare industry is moving to the next levels of doing the all kind of researchers, R&Ds and research. So that will help to make us the Indian market to move the next levels.
So yeah, like we are moving really to the next thing, like genetic test and all those things. Is LIMS have really developed the modules and all those things for all this genetic test and all those?
Yes, to manage the process, there are some equipments has to be get purchased. So then only we can able to manage all the things. So there are few labs in India are evolving with those machines and those process.
That's really nice. So yes, moving to the final question, and your inspiration and your favorite book, could you share with us? Who inspired you the most?
Okay, so I'm not a big fan of reading books, but I'd love to read the ancient stories. So that is my favorite. Like we can say Ramayanam, Ponniyin Selvan. These are all these kind of books only I used to read.
Great. So your inspiration?
Okay, so person I'm great fan of Bharatiya. I spend more time since reading Tamil ancient books, because that will give you more courage and they will there are many good things.
Of course, there is no compromise at all. It was really a very good session and so knowledgeable. I think it's going to benefit more listeners and more healthcare product managers and those who are into the LIMS field and those who are going to start their career. So thank you so much for joining the MedReach podcast today.
And thanks for this opportunity also. So at least some of the information will be useful for the people. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Bye-bye. Hello listeners, if you have any doubt regarding this episode, follow the topic in our MedReach Knowledge-sharing forum. Thank you for listening. Hope you all enjoyed the session. Keep gaining the knowledge with healthcare industry expert by MedReach Podcast through MedReach Knowledge-sharing forum. Until the next episode, take care.